Well, that sucked, and here it is again in slow motion. You're going to see the parachute just pop, and the whole back end comes up into the air. When the back end comes into the air, the car actually starts coming towards me. And when that happened, the wheels slammed back down, the suspension completely compressed, and the front wheels came off the ground while it was sideways. By the time I look up and I see the curb, that's it. It's done. It's over. And here we go with the kitty table top review of the big crash. So the body was a little bit damaged, just barely cracked in the front. There's a little bit more damage to the hood scoop and the front clips that hold the body together. As you can see, the paint also chipped off pretty well, but that's because I painted over top of the body. It's not going to be typical for most other ones because you paint the underside to prevent, that amount of damage. The clips are made from a man named Bill in the Arma Forum. The great part about them is they're very fast to put on, very fast to put off. So if you have a fire or anything like that, it's very quick and easy to get it off and take your fire extinguisher, put out the fire. The most disappointing part, however, was the hood scoop being cracked. I blame that hood scoop for the amount of airflow that it puts on. Just having the stock fans over 100 mile an hour, your car's going to heat up a lot. You're going to generate a lot of heat, and that hood scoop puts so much cool air on top of it. It really doesn't even matter if you have stock fans at that point. I had other plans to water cool it later on, and I was going to mount a radiator underneath it, but it is what it is. Just for storing it and transporting it to the tabletop, I put the parachute on top of it, but as you can see, it's a mess under here. The batteries, they're a little loose. I'm probably going to replace them being lithium ion. They have a chance of just randomly catching fire just with a single crack in it, and that's just something you don't want. The main thing with the front end, it's just plastic. I can replace that, and the part underneath it that holds the rear diff or the front diff, excuse me. It's also plastic, but it is bent basically in an S shape, as you can see there. The suspension is a little bit bent as well. Probably going to have to replace the whole front end, to be honest with you, along with the chassis it's on as well, if I were to salvage this car. Going to the middle, you could see where the gear is actually pushed towards the rear, and that's just a testament to how bent the chassis is. For the back of the car, it really didn't take any of the impact, but that little bar that goes across that gives its support, it bent basically in an L shape. Obviously I need to straighten that out or replace it. I don't think there's any damage really to the electronics, the motor, the ESC, anything like that. And they're probably going to be salvaged for the next project. The rear end, the rear diff, the rear suspension probably is going to be salvaged as well. The wheels themselves, they do have a couple of bends in them. There's some cracking in one of the wheels, and I have replacements for those. I just have to get my hands on another Arma, and that's probably what I'm going to do. Once I have the other Arma, possibility is it's going to be a dual motor setup. So, and in the back, I'm going to mount another parachute. Of course, the mounting holder fell out the back. It actually ejected the screws right out of the plastic, and it was one of my worries why I didn't want to mount the parachute there. Because just the impact from it opening up, it was going to break it. There's no question about that. So, and it being drilled into plastic, it's just not strong enough. It's strong enough to hold it. I guess not in such a great impact, but, it does all right. The servo in the back is, it seems to be okay. Even just having one screw hold it. It's a micro servo. I imagine that its inertia didn't equal to anything. And it seemed to have survived. Along with my little cable, which is actually a weed eater cord, that actually is the pin that releases it. So I talked to Motion Raceworks on the phone, and they said that the parachute itself, the surface area that it's holding all the air in, it's just too much. And that's why in a lot of my videos, you'll see where the parachute will pop out and then it'll start gaining air. And especially in the beginning of this crash, you know, you see where it pops out and immediately lifts the back end of the vehicle up. That's what happened basically, is I had too big of a parachute on there and I did not know. And ultimately it led to a pretty messed up crash at about 80 miles per hour. I'm going to go to a 9-inch parachute as per their advice, and we're going to go from there. Duals are probably not an option. They said because it's the surface area, if I put two 9-inch ones back there, it's probably going to do the same thing. So go from there, and if it works but not as well as I need it to, move up to maybe a 12-inch one and then fine-tune it from there. So that's the plan for the next one. We'll see what happens. Thank you for watching, and have a good one.
I don't know. Oh, I did a little bit better.
Spent the day painting the car. Apparently when you wreck, the original color does come through.
Okay, go ahead.